This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Senior here with you. And as always, thank you so much for supporting the program. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. What an exhilarating win for the Niners last night. It's an epic victory Monday here on the show. San Francisco has won 6 games in a row. They're rolling going into the NFL playoffs. Massive game coming up in Week 18. If you're just loving this Niners season, if you're pumped up about another Niners dub, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, to celebrate another victory Monday. I want at least 1,000 likes here on the program. So the 49ers last night holding on to edge out the Chicago Bears 42-38. That game is going to go down as one of the more memorable Niners games in recent memory. It was so fun, so exhilarating, so frenetic, so back and forth, so much offense. It felt like a legitimate video game and Madden type of game, with the offensive display that we saw from Kyle Shanahan being in his bag and Ben Johnson being in his bag. And now for the Niners, it all comes down to Week 18 against the Seattle Seahawks. The winner gets the number 1 seed in the NFC, wins the NFC West, gets a first-round bye in the NFC playoff bracket, and gets home field advantage. And for the Niners, of course, if they keep winning, the return of Fred Warner looms. If they keep winning, they wouldn't have to travel anywhere if they can advance to Super Bowl 60, because Super Bowl 60 is at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. This has been a magical season for San Francisco. Why not the Niners? The defense going to have to get a little bit better. They're going to have to get some critical stops like they did last night and just overall perform better. They're going to have to generate a turnover or two, but this offense is peaking at the right time. I talked about this in the lead up to the game, and last night, another example of it. This offense is straight up humming right now. And you think about what's at stake in this Week 18 game against Seattle. This is one of the best rivalries in the National Football League, but in all of sports. 6 years ago today, by the way, was the Dre Greenlaw stop at the goal line against Seattle for another epic win to round out the regular season. And that helped San Francisco kind of get past being dominated and owned by Seattle for a really long time. And in recent memory, the Niners have really performed well in this rivalry. In Week 1, you had that Brock Purdy game-winning drive late as he found Jake Tonges, a sign of things to come, as Tonges has developed into a really good tight end this year. And then Nick Bosa puts the offensive tackle into the lap of Sam Darnold, strip sack, ball game. And now another installment in what has been a historic rivalry between the Niners and the Seahawks. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll, of course, be live for it for another watch party here on the show with a long pregame show. I hope to see all of you there. And that's why you hit that subscribe button for nonstop Elite Niners coverage. And moving ahead, the takeaway from last night, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is on an absolute heater right now. I think he's playing better than any quarterback in the NFL. Over his last 3 games, he has been cooking. 23 of 30, 295 yards and 3 touchdowns against Tennessee. 25 of 34 for 295 and 5 touchdowns against Indianapolis. And then last night, 24 of 33, 303 yards, and 5 more touchdowns. That's 10 touchdowns in the last 2 games. That is 13 touchdowns in the last 3 ball games. And I just think with the level of anticipation, accuracy, timing, having control of the offense, being an assassin, as Ricky Pearsall said after the game, being a field general, being the point guard, making plays out of structure, he's playing better than any quarterback in the NFL currently. And if he were to play all season long, I think we'd be talking about Purdy as a potential MVP candidate once again, like he was in 2023, with a more loaded supporting cast, because he missed those 8 games. He is still tied with Jordan Love for touchdowns this season. That's how crazy Brock Purdy's been playing, especially since he came back. Now, he played well against Arizona, 3 touchdowns. He had the 3 first-half interceptions against Carolina, played better in the second half, played well against Cleveland on the road, and then those aforementioned last 3 games. And in the last 3 games, the Niners have scored 37, 48, 42 points. You know how hard that is to do? to sustain that at the NFL level. I mean, the last 2 games, the Niners have had 5 trips in the red zone in each of the last 2 games to start the game, and they've come away with 5 touchdowns. And it's all because of Brock Purdy. He's not doing this with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey, who all had great seasons back in 2023. He's doing this with players in and out of the lineup. Last night, no Trent Williams, no George Kittle, Jake Tonges, the number 1 tight end. He's throwing passes to Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall in and out of the lineup. Sky Moore gets an end around for 10 yards. This Niners offense, everybody is contributing. And I think because Kyle Shanahan has been forced to coach more aggressive, that's brought the best out of him as far as being a play caller, because he's feeling it right now. Now, this Niners defense, awful. Caleb Williams over 300 passing yards. The Bears running for 100 yards. San Francisco could not get a lot of stops. But to the Niners' credit, they got a couple of stops early. They got the end of half stop. And then to end the game, they forced the Bears into a field goal. They then march down the field. Brock Purdy to Jawan Jennings. They score a touchdown. And then to end the game, you're up by 4. Can't give up a touchdown. Bears got it to the 2 on the looking ladder. But the Niners able to get that big stop. And there were a couple of things as far as intricacies of the game go that stood out to me with the end of that game. First of all, the Robert Saleh play call on the game winner. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. He rushed 2 guys. One of the 2, Bryce Huff, was a delayed rusher. And because it was delayed, he wasn't blocked. He got a free run at Caleb Williams. There was a quarterback spy because Caleb Williams can run the ball very effectively. And then the Niners dropped everybody else back in coverage, clogging the middle of the field, taking away all the crossers. And then Yetur Gross-Matos and Bryce Huff able to kind of pin Caleb Williams toward the sideline. He starts to backpedal and backtrack, and he throws the incompletion. But that play call and the play design in that situation from Robert Saleh to only rush 2, and one of them is a delayed rusher, quarterback spy, then you take away all the crossers. Phenomenal defensive coaching. Nick Sorensen would never. On the hook and ladder, Deommodore Lenoir, he kind of bit on the in cut, but he didn't bite fully. And because of that, he read the play and he tackled DeAndre Swift. And because of that, the Bears had to rush into that final play. Otherwise, it would have been a touchdown. You're not coming back from that. That would have been ball game. Kyle Shanahan not calling a timeout prior to that last play. He had 2 of them. And when I was live during the watch party, I'm like, Shanahan has 2 timeouts. Is he going to call a timeout here? You know why he didn't? He noticed that the play clock was going down. The Bears were rushing into the play. And so he let it roll. That's the proper thing to do. You know what Ben Johnson said after the game? He said, I could have done a better job of getting the call in earlier. I got it in too late. And then Caleb Williams was trying to piece that play together in a rushed fashion. And because the Bears had to rush it, because they had no timeouts left, they didn't get their best play off. And Shanahan not calling a timeout, game changer. Those little intricacies that make football so awesome, that's why we all love this game. Some 49ers under the radar big-time players. How about Jake Tonges stepping in? Started his career with the Chicago Bears. We were joking on the watch party last night. Over 130,000 people joined us. That was a revenge game for Tonges. Started his career as a UDFA with Chicago. Look, I'll tell you this. He's developed into a really viable tight end in this league. He's big, runs well, good hands, can pick up yards after the catch. He's reliable and serviceable, and he just moves really well out there. Good developmental story for the Niners. I'd like to see him on the field more with George Kittle. Not the blocker that Kittle is, very few are, but a really good player. How about Austen Pleasants stepping in for Trent Williams? Trent Williams goes down on the very first play of the game after the Brock Purdy pick 6, where Jalen Johnson made a great play on the ball, hurts his hamstring. Austen Pleasants comes in, and the Niners still throwing for over 300 yards, still finding success on the ground game. And he's going to have to play really well against Seattle if he starts into action. And then Ricky Pearsall, clearly not healthy, but he gives it a go. And I thought that Ricky Pearsall had a big time, big balls, tough it out type of performance. And he was really good for Brock Purdy last night. As for George Kittle and Trent Williams injury updates, according to Adam Schefter, George pushing to play on Saturday against Seattle, has a chance to be back. That's kind of the expectation coming off that low to mid ankle injury. And then Trent Williams going out of the game last night, didn't come back. Schefter saying, I think it will be tough for him to make it back on a short week. That's the case. Austen Pleasants, next man up again. And all year long, it's been next man up for San Francisco. And these backups have really performed well for the most part. Niners Seahawks, quick thoughts here. Niners 1.5-point favorites over Seattle at home. It's going to be a showdown at Levi's Stadium for the number 1 seed, right to win the NFC West and to get that first round bye. And Albert Breer put out a tweet about the Seahawks getting a brutal rest disadvantage because they played yesterday against Carolina. Then they have to travel to play the Niners on a Saturday ball game. I mean, I kind of chalk it up as both teams are dealing with rest disadvantages. The Bears played on Saturday against Green Bay at home. The Niners played Monday night in the East Coast time zone. They didn't get back until the wee hours of Tuesday morning. Chicago had multiple days to prepare for San Francisco. And Seattle, it's not like the flight from the Pacific Northwest to San Jose is that long. And so both of these teams have a short week. You both have to deal with it. I think the adrenaline is going to be flowing for this game. This Seahawks defense is superb. Sam Darnold kind of exercising some demons on Thursday night a couple of weeks ago with that epic comeback against the Rams in which they were down by 16 points, 30-14, and Sam Darnold able to overcome some of those big picks and big turnovers to lead that game-winning drive and multiple comeback drives. Will big game Sammy show up or will clutch time Sammy show up? It's going to be a really hard test for this Niners secondary to defend Jackson Smith and Jigba. Filthy route runner, really slick in the open field. But really, when I look at this matchup, it's Kyle Shanahan against Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald got Kyle Shanahan's number back during that Christmas game when he was the DC for the Ravens in 2023. But Shanahan got him once last year with a team that I don't think is as good as this year's team. And then back in week 1. And from week 1 to now, I think this Niners offense is so much better. You're at home. Brock Purdy has had success against Seattle. I like San Francisco to win this game. And it's crazy to say that because Seattle should win it. They're healthier. They're arguably more talented. They currently have the number 1 seed. I just think this Niners team has something special brewing. They know also if they can get that first round bye, gives Trent Williams more time to get healthy, gives George Kittle more time to heal up. You work toward trying to get Fred Warner back. And if the offense continues to play the way that the offense has been playing and the defense can be a little bit better and you get that Sam Darnold interception here or there, I think San Francisco can win the football game and get that number 1 seed in the NFC. All right. A lot of you probably wondering, Chase, where the hell are you? I came to see my grandma and my dad in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, otherwise known as Amish country. One thing stood out a couple of years ago when my dad and I went to Costco. There is a parking station for Amish people to use for their horse and buggies. Fun fact. And my grandma's 99 years old, turning 100 in September. So I wanted to wish her a Merry Christmas, spend some time with some family, and then I'll be able to see some friends as well from my hometown. But that will not stop Elite Niners coverage from coming your way every single day this week on the 49ers Report. I'll give you a preview of this Niners Seahawks game, all the latest news. I'll bring it to you here on the show with long-form videos and YouTube shorts, and I'll catch you soon. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give me a follow on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Chase_Senior, and I'll see you soon. Peace.